Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, whatever time you're watching. This is just a short little video as an introduction before you watch The Big Short. Okay, The Big Short is not only the greatest economics movie ever made, but it's also one of my personal favorites. So I'm really, really excited to be introducing it to you. The truth is that at its heart, it's a comedy, okay, or a tragicomedy. It's also a portrayal about how the 2007, 2008 great financial crash really was manifest, how it got started. But also, it's quite technical as well. And the problem with watching it without having an introduction like this is it's possible that you might lose track of what exactly is going on. So that's the purpose, really, of just these quick 5 minutes to try and help you understand what's going on, so that you can keep on, I don't know, so you can keep on track when you're watching it. So let's talk very quickly about mortgages. Okay, I'm going to assume no knowledge here. All right, so I'm going to start from square one. A mortgage is a loan that you receive from a bank in order to buy a house. Particularly in the UK, most people don't have the sort of cash lying around in their bank account ready to buy a house like that. Particularly if you live in Oxford or in London. Okay, now I've put here £1 million. The average house price in Oxford is more like 400,000. But let's say we want to buy a house in North Oxford in Summertown, probably around about £1 million. As I say, the average person in the UK simply doesn't have that sort of cash lying around, so he or she needs to go to a bank to raise that money. So let's assume, all being well, the bank gives me, 1 million, let's make it about me, yeah, a £1 million mortgage. What's in it for them? Okay, I would probably have to pay back some sort of interest. Now I've put 5% here just because it makes the math slightly easier. But in truth, in real life, that today would be quite a bit lower. Interest rates are really, really low at the moment. All right. So with 5% on a million, that's 50 grand. So that's basically saying for the term of the mortgage, which is normally anything between 20 and 30 years, I will be paying back 50 grand per year plus, that's just the interest plus starting to make inroads into that £1 million. So it'd be 50 grand plus per year. So that is a really, really expensive mortgage. And just be aware that in real life, it's not quite as clean as this. If I wanted a mortgage on £1 million house, the bank probably would want me to be putting down £250,000 deposit or something like that. And also I'd have to show my credentials, show them that I really could pay this money back. So I'm putting here AAA because that's a reflection of the credit rating of this particular person. AAA, gold standard. This person is turbo reliable. He or she is definitely going to pay you back your money, so you have no worries about what's called defaulting on the mortgage, not paying back that monthly sum of money. Okay. Now, the story of The Big Short is set in just the kind of 2 or 3 years before 2000, 2007, 2008, and the immediate aftermath as well. But I want to take you back just about 3 or 4 years before that to kind of 2002, 2003. This mortgage market is working very, very well indeed. The banks are giving out loads of mortgages. People are repaying on their mortgages. Happy days, making loads of money. To the point, actually, where the commercial banks are really struggling to fund all these mortgages because there's so much demand for mortgages. If they're shelling out £1 million every time, you think that they're going to run out of cash. So where does a commercial bank go to kind of get a replenishment of cash? They go to their investment bank big brothers. Okay, high street bank, commercial bank. Think of the ones kind of in Headington, Lloyds, HSBC, Santander, Barclays, the ones that you probably have bank accounts with. Okay, investment banks, you need to start thinking skyscrapers in Canary Wharf, Wall Street. Okay, Goldman Sachs, Deloitte, JP Morgan, those sort of Deutsche Bank. Okay, those sorts of sizes. Now, investment banks aren't really interested in £1 million deals here and there. For a high street bank, that's the bread and butter. That's their business model. But for an investment bank, that's not really what they're interested in. They're in much bigger sums. So what happens in kind of around about 2002, 2003 time is somebody somewhere creates the first CDS. And a CDS it's credit default swap, but essentially it's a financial instrument which bundles together lots of people's mortgages. So if you can imagine, there are 100 people like this, all taking a £1 million mortgage. Okay, that's costing NatWest £100 million up front, cash to go to those people. Now they've got quite a big hole to fill. So where do they go? they essentially sell those mortgages to the investment bank. So the investment bank gives NatWest the cash up front, buys the mortgages. And when I say buys the mortgages, it means that as the mortgage the mortgage borrower, I'm no longer paying back NatWest, I'm actually paying back the investment bank. So the money's going back to them. Why is that good for everybody? Well, NatWest will probably sell it for slightly more than £100 million, but it doesn't really matter because that 5% still more than makes up for the cost for the investment bank. Now NatWest has the money to go and sell more mortgages, so they start again. So you can see how it is kind of beneficial for everybody else. These people are happy because they're getting mortgages. NatWest are happy because they can take the cycle on again and give out more mortgages. And the investment bank's getting all the return from the mortgages that have already been lent. So everybody's really happy. So a credit default swap is just an aggregation on lots and lots of mortgages. And this goes on for a couple of years. And again, it's really lucrative stuff. Everybody's making money here. Everybody's being able to buy houses. NatWest keep on giving more and more mortgages out. Investment banks are still getting all this money back. Everybody's happy. Except one thing, kind of the regulators take their eyes off the ball a little bit. I remember how we said this credit default swap was full of kind of AAA candidates. Well, at some point somewhere, people start getting a little bit greedy and they start thinking, well, actually, look, if we have a CDS which is 99 really good candidates, but we have one candidate who, I don't know, let's call them a C, a single C. So you can imagine the difference. Yeah, this is a turbo reliable borrower who's definitely going to repay you your money on time, every time. A C, it's kind of a risky person, maybe somebody with a not stable job, maybe somebody who has a history of not necessarily paying their debts back on time. Okay, if you package them up into this same bundle, this is still quite an attractive financial investment for the investment bank, because let's say this person does default, they simply lose their job and they can't pay back on their mortgage. It doesn't really matter because 99 other people are still repaying you every month, and that's more than going to make up for the one person who doesn't. So it doesn't matter if you kind of tuck one person in who wasn't so good. But you can probably see where this is going. Once kind of one person slips under the radar, then there's a little bit of an incentive, isn't there, to kind of put two people in there. And once you can fit two people in there, maybe you can fit three people in there. And maybe you get to the point where actually only 80% of the people in the CDS are actually good value and 20 people aren't. And this is kind of the point at which the tables turn a little bit, because now there's quite a large chance that people are going to start defaulting on their mortgages. And if people are going to start defaulting on their mortgages, then that means that those investment banks that have paid out loads and loads of money for these mortgages aren't getting paid. And if they have any debts, they simply now won't be able to repay them. And the whole thing is going to start to break down. Well, The Big Short is basically about that. It's about this cycle coming to an end because too many what we call subprime candidates, okay, too many subprime mortgages were sold. And in the movie, you're going to see three particular characters. All right, you're going to see Christian Bale's character. You're going to see Ryan Reynolds' character. And you're going to see Brad Pitt's character. Okay, so three separate guys. And the point of the movie is that these three guys work it out before anybody else. They can see what is about to happen. They can see that actually almost, a huge chunk of people who have taken out mortgages are simply not going to be able to repay their mortgages. And that's going to create a huge headache for these investment banks because they're not going to be expecting the money that they receive. They're going to stop lending, okay, to these commercial banks who are going to run out of money. And that's going to stop the whole cycle. House prices are going to crash. And when house prices crash, you have a massive asset failure as well. These three guys see this happening. They work it out before everybody else. It's a true story as well, I think. So they work it out before anyone happens. And the thing that they do is they essentially hedge their bets against it happening. So they take out an insurance policy that will pay off when it all crashes. So they're essentially going to get rich from the economy crashing. And that's what the movie's about. So have fun watching the movie. It is really, really good. And if you have any questions at the end of it, do not hesitate to email me some point. Okay. Cheers for watching. Bye.